Hello and welcome to Ginger Engineering. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a basic arm lift for VEX Robotics. Here's some of the things you're going to need. You're going to need 2 motors, 2 larger gears and 2 smaller gears. I'll be using the 12-tooth and the 64-tooth gears. And then 4 axles, 4 lock nuts, assortment of spacer, some bolts, some nuts, some collars, and then just some regular tools. And then you're also going to need, for metal, a C-channel. It can be either the thinnest kind, and you're gonna want it to be aluminum. But you could either you can either use the regular, or what I'm gonna be using is the 3-hole, just because that's what I've got already cut. And then you're also gonna need an angle L-shaped kind of piece of metal, and again also aluminum. So the first thing you're gonna do is connect 4 C-channel pieces across a bar on your already built chassis. The way I've got it is a large L-shaped piece that extends across the back middle-ish area, and then I have 4 of the larger size C-channel spaced out just like 5 holes apart. You can make it however you want. You can change it so that the bar is further back or further forward. And you can use just the regular thickness C-channel. And then my C-channel is also cut down a little bit so that it's within the 18 by 18, and so it's above the ground. But you can use full-size pieces and keep it within the 18 by 18, but you just have to make sure to connect it in the correct place. Alright, so for this first part, you're going to want your 2 pieces of C-channel for the arm, your 2 larger gears. I'm using high strength. I recommend for you also to use high strength. You're going to need your 4 bolts, your 4 lock nuts, and your assortment of spacers, as well as your 2 tools. Alright, so you're going to begin by taking one of your larger gears and your arm. You're going to place the gear up to one of the ends of the arms on the inside so that the teeth extend outward past the metal. And then you're going to, of course, mine has a different spacing around the gear. That's why I'm using spacers to flatten out, level out the spacing when I'm attaching it. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this on just so that it's on the end of the arm and extends outward past the metal. That's what's important. So as long as it does that, it doesn't matter how you screw it in, other than, of course, you're going to want to center it in on the metal. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so that's one finished arm. It's attached with lock nuts, and it's also spaced away from the bar slightly with one of the smaller white spacers. So you're probably going to want to space your gear away from your bar a little bit too, so that things don't get caught, and it just helps with decreasing complications. So now go ahead and do the other arm the same way. Now that we have both arms made, we're going to put them onto these C-channel holders. So they're going to be placed in just like this with the axles, but first you're going to want to put on some bearings so that the axles turn smoothly. So go ahead and put on some bearings just within these areas. It doesn't really matter where you put them. Alright, so now that I have those bearings on, we can start putting these in. So you're going to take your first one, and it doesn't really matter which direction you have it in. I'm just going to put it to where the smooth side of the C-channel is facing inward, and the C part is going to be facing outward. So I'm going to put this in there. I'm going to grab my axle, slide it in, Now, when you put this in, you're going to probably want to either use some spacers and some collars, or maybe just collars. I'm just going to be using collars. So take the collars. I'm going to be using 4 collars for this. So slide the first 2 collars on, and then I'm going to be putting on the arm, and now 2 more collars. Once that's slipped through, you can go ahead and tighten those collars up. Alright, for the next part, we're going to be putting on motors and the smaller gears that will be attached to the gears on our arms. So you're going to take a motor, you can go on the inside or the outside, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to be putting mine on the inside. So make sure you check your spacing so that you put the motors on for the correct hole. And then just make sure you put on more bearings, but this time you don't need one on each side. The motor kind of works as a bearing for one side, so just make sure you put a bearing on the opposite side of the motor. So you can go ahead and do that now. Alright, so now I've got both sides geared up to the motors, and oh, I guess this motor's not working correctly. Well, I guess I'll switch that out later. But anyway, this side's working. It's kind of stiff, like you can see this. As I move it up and down, it works good. Now, what we're gonna do, the last step, besides attaching like a claw, if you wanted to attach a claw to the end of it for actual functionality. But anyway, the last thing, you're gonna take that L piece, that angle piece, you're gonna stretch it across, attach it across these 2 beams to give it stability. So yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and attach that. I'm going to change out that motor, and then I'll show the robot working.